He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is the Alex Marlow Show.
This is the Alex Marlow Show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. My house is still standing. You know, some of you guys online, you got to be more specific about where you're trying to get attention in your social media accounts. You keep announcing that it was my city that was on fire yesterday, but it's not true. It was Castaic, which is adjacent to where I live, and California is on fire. So prayers for everyone over there. It's the Hughes fire, and it was spreading very quickly, 10,000 acres as of the start of the show. I'm looking at my handy-dandy fire app at the moment. It ran into this lake called Lake Castaic, which is about 10, 15 miles from where I live right now, where I'm sitting. And the lake blocked most of it, but the fire did go up alongside the lake, and it was heading towards a residential area. I'm hoping that this will avoid a lot of residential areas, but we're not out of the clear completely today because it is a high wind day. We're supposed to get some rain over the weekend. The winds are supposed to die down, so I'm optimistic for California start tomorrow. But we got to get through today, and I am about a mile outside the evacuation zone, so I have to keep updating this thing in case I have to abruptly do the show from the car. I'm hoping not. Now I'm checking out to see. Yeah, I think so the Teriyaki Madness, where I like to get lunch sometimes. I'm not always getting lunch, but when I do, you know, it's a good spot. And they're in the zone 2, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get my chicken bowl after the show today. That's all right. I think I got leftover, so I'm all set. But it's an odd environment that you're in because you have to keep an eye on, first of all, how are you doing? Second of all, how are your friends doing? Third of all, how is your children? Like, can they go to their stuff? Swimming class was canceled yesterday. I don't know why. They swim indoors, but we couldn't swim indoors in my neighborhood because there was a fire 10 miles away. Just what happens. How the world works now. And hopefully Trump will start making stuff better. He's coming tomorrow as we're recording this. And I'm hoping he'll get to bump into Joel Pollak because Joel's been the best reporter on this. So we'll have some content for you at Breitbart News. He's going to be with Newsom and Bass. I don't understand who wants to hear from Bass, but he's going to do that. He was on Hannity yesterday. I'll play some clips from this, but he suggested that California shouldn't get disaster money until they change their water policies. So that's great. I mean, imagine running that by someone who lost their house. I only smile because it's so frightening. It's such a frightening sentiment from the president, especially someone who, you know, campaigned for him and wanted him to win and was so moved that he won. And then, because there's a lot of Trump voters that lost their house, saying, no, we're not going to help you because your governor who you don't like is a bad guy. So it's a very callous and cold. I don't know why he said that. I don't think it matters, but it's not Trump at his best. It's lacking in empathy, you should say. He's a tough guy, but it's an odd thing, especially as we watch so much of our taxpayer funds go to Ukraine over the past few years and continue to get shipped all around the world to all this woke stuff that is within our government that we've been funding. And then your house burns down, and we're supposed to have FEMA. We're supposed to have a federal emergency management association. But now, you know what? We really don't like your governor, and he's going to run for president next time. So you're out in the cold. He can't mean it, right? Odd stuff. So showdown with Newsom coming to California. Is it going to be a showdown, or are they going to work together? I think it's in their best interest, both of them, to work together. But it was surreal, apocalyptic scenes around my house, just blanketed in smoke, and all the children just completely confused and scared. And it's a strange world we live in, and we must be better. We must be better as a peoples. All right, let's play some more from that Hannity interview, because this is Trump's first interview as president, and it's always worth hearing from the president. Let's play it.
This desk, this room, your carpet. Let's talk about the moment you walked back in this office, this desk, this room, your carpet. How'd you feel?
Well, it was a lot of work. And as you know, I felt that we shouldn't have had to necessarily be here. Could have been done. A lot of work could have been, it would have been over. We wouldn't have inflation. We wouldn't have had the Afghanistan disaster. We wouldn't have October 7th with Israel, where so many people were killed. And you wouldn't have a Ukraine war going on. But with all that being said, I think it's bigger.
So good. He's right on all this. This is where I said this on yesterday's show. I'm shocked at how good his answers are because I'm just not used to this. It's something that we didn't think it was possible. Those of us who have been in the conservative media space for a long time, and I know a lot of you who are my age or older are probably nodding along, and that we're not used to our leaders being able to answer questions well. We're used to them being able to say stuff that's kind of okay, but they've really got their own agenda and they're doing all this math in the back of their head that's not adding up. This is a new phenomenon where our standard bearer is capable of giving an answer where he says, first of all, it was a lot of work, which is true. It's a very human thing. Trump is an incredibly hard worker. It is a new aesthetic that he's bringing back, the hard work aesthetic that is, frankly, would just seemed absent from Biden, from Obama, from Bush, from Clinton. I mean, we don't think of these people as particularly hard workers. Trump hits the pavement. Obviously, he's a person who's incredibly blessed, is incredibly lucky in many ways. But he earned it. He went out and got it. He did not take anything for granted. He campaigned nonstop. He did as many interviews as he could, showing up on obscure podcasts, on Twitch streams. To be Kamala Harris, who is a joke of a candidate, he took nothing for granted. He wakes up every morning and he feels like he's entitled to nothing, and he goes and gets it. And he courted so many people from all over the political spectrum, from various industries, all of these things he did. And he really earned it. For a guy who's been to the top of so many mountains, he still wakes up every morning and earns it. And if you're a coach on a sports team, I mean, isn't that the message? I mean, that's the thing when I start T-ball up in a couple of weeks. I mean, that's the message you give to T-ballers. Like it is something that works when you're 5. It works when you're 80. Just get up and go after it. And then he did list that if I'd won the last time, then we wouldn't have had Afghanistan debacle, wouldn't have had inflation, wouldn't have had Ukraine war, wouldn't have had October 7th. All those are true, straight off the pages of Breitbart. And so, you know, it's great. It's great to be in lockstep with the guy. Let's continue.
If it were more traditional.
Only the second time in history somebody didn't have consecutive terms.
Yeah. Well, they say it's historically bigger. I don't know about that. But I can say it showed us a couple of things. It showed us that the radical left, their philosophies and policies are horrible.
Yeah, that is true. Let's get some more.
Joe Biden ran and said he would never do preemptive pardons. It was an issue that came up when you were leaving your first time.
He heard that I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was given the option. They said, sir, would you like to pardon everybody, including yourself? I said, I'm not going to pardon anybody. We didn't do anything wrong. And we had people that suffered. They were incredible patriots. We had people that suffered. You had Bannon put in jail. You had Peter Navarro put in jail. You had people that suffered.
Yeah, and remember, Bannon and Navarro were in jail because they were in contempt of the J6 committee because they wouldn't cooperate with this phony kangaroo court, which was just should never have existed. It was rooted in all BS. It was just designed to harass Trump. And that J6 committee was colluding with all of these. This is going to come out. It will, if there's investigations, colluding with all of these prosecutions of Trump in the various other courts, the civil courts, criminal courts. They destroyed documents. That's why Liz Cheney needed the pardon. So they were clearly manipulating, tampering with witnesses. So it's the fact that Bannon and Navarro were jailed for that stuff. Oh, my God. Completely embarrassing for the whole country that happened. And there's been no hell to pay yet. There's not a single head that's rolled. There's not a single person that's been prosecuted. So it's got to begin. We got to start that. Let's play some more. Go on.
And far worse than that, they've lost their fortunes. They've lost their nest egg, paying it to lawyers. And those people, and people said, and they wouldn't have even taken, most of those people, they wouldn't have even taken a pardon. This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know,
So this is very important, his last point about the nest eggs, because when you're tied up in these legal battles, when the lawfare takes place, so part of the mechanics of it is it bankrupts people and then it drains them of their time. So they can't hold down jobs because they're in legal heck. And then if they decide to not roll over, all of these, just think about the Georgia criminal case. where so many people just took plea deals. I mean, they just took deals and they had penalties basically so that they could just get out of a jam. So this is one where it is very, very important to understand that these people are victims and they need to be able to make a living, to be able to earn money and to not squander it all on lawyers. And just by virtue of being accused by entities as powerful as these courts or as the federal government, that they're going to waste all this sorts of time and money. So it's very important for Trump to call this out. Isn't this awesome, though, that these talking points are very similar to what I gave on the show yesterday? So I am enjoying that a little bit, that his commentary on Biden's pardons. Those of you who missed, I think it was yesterday's show. If not, it was one of the shows earlier in the week. I played this compilation of all of these Democrats saying how insane it was if Trump was going to do preemptive pardons. Oh, how could Trump do preemptive pardons? It would be an abuse of the system. He'd be operating like a monarch. So what are we living in a monarchy now? And then Biden did the exact same thing for his corrupt family.
Funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him.
Exactly right. Joe Biden is the godfather of all lawfare. He is the one who built the system, the superstructure that made all of it possible. He is the one who would have benefited from it the most if he had won again, because it was the only way Trump was going to lose is if all the lawfare was going to succeed. And Biden should absolutely be investigated at a personal level. I'm sure he covered his own tracks. I don't know if we're going to be able to bust him. But it is his Department of Justice could have shut down any of these prosecutions, any of these investigations into Trump. And Biden could have said about to the J6 committee, he said, you got to stop it. You got to knock it off. That's not what we do in this country. We already won. Leave these people alone and let's get down to the business of governing. Instead, he allowed for all of the headlines to be dominated by whatever Trump scandal, whatever the J6 prosecution, so that it was just a little less time and energy we as a people had to talk about the Bidenflation and the disastrous foreign policies and all the horrible stuff Biden was happening in the inner cities, the crime on Biden's watch. That's the design. Joe Biden is the king of it all. So he's not been held accountable. And the fact he didn't pardon himself, we should look into investigating him. I'm not saying that you do anything specious or something that isn't rooted in something solid. Don't do what they did to Trump, where they're just fabricating stuff out of thin air. The E. Jean Carroll thing, which came out of nowhere. Completely absurd. The more you look into that, and we will on the show as time goes on. Because we have to remember these things. This is the historical record we're talking about. But Biden had absolutely was in charge of all this. He could have stopped it all at any moment. All right, I got a little bit more from Handy. This is good, so let's keep going.
Horribly a long time. It would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them this should not have happened. And the other thing is this, some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents, okay? You know, they get built up by that couple of fake guys that are on CNN all the time.
Nobody watches.
They were very minor incidents, and it was time. You have murderers in Philadelphia. You have.
All right, so it's the we'll hear this point, but I love this because elsewhere in the media today, you've got this Washington Post editor, this guy named David Moranis, writing that it is unconscionable that the Washington Post editorial board equated Biden's pardons and Trump's. Trump had pardoned people who were let in by guards through open doors into the Capitol, who then went through years of harassment and jailing in squalor, having to live in squalor, losing jobs, missing on births of their kids, all that sort of stuff. And Biden pardoned his own crime family on a blanket 10, 11-year thing, so we can't even look into them. Pardoning guys like Fauci who clearly committed perjury, talking about lying about the gain of function research at the Wuhan lab to the Senate. So those are the people who got pardoned. I mean, those are 100% criminal activity, not overcharged political persecutions. And he's mad that they were equated. The Biden pardons were way worse, unprecedented in American history. You know how I know that? Because of that montage we played earlier in the week, where all the Democrats said the same thing. A preemptive pardon would have been unprecedented, would have been abuse of power, et cetera, et cetera. So now they're acting outraged because Trump did some pardons. We don't care about any of Trump's pardons anymore. After Biden pardoned his crime family, do you know Biden pardoned this guy, Leonard Peltier? He was a cause celeb at when I was at Berkeley. He's a guy, Native American guy, who killed, I think it was a couple of agents, federal agents. And he was wanted for murder at the time, or attempted murder at the time. And then he got some life sentences, and he's been in jail for a very long time, decades. And Biden just let him out for no reason. A lot of people maintain that his innocence was never, his guilt was never proven. But there was certainly nothing to suggest that he wasn't guilty. And he had been wanted for another violent crime at the time. He committed the other murders of agents, FBI agents. And Biden just let him out for nothing. I don't even know what Biden gets out of it. He gets nothing out of it. Let's just let this old murderer out. Convicted murderer. I'll say that specifically for the attorneys. So that's what Biden's doing. Why? And then we're supposed to act outraged because Trump let out some guys who sent some emails about rallying in J6.
You have murderers in Los Angeles that don't even get any time. They don't even collect them, and they know they're there to be collected. And then they go on television and act holier than thou about this one or that one. You had 1,500 people that suffered. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people. A lot of people. Good stuff. Good stuff, Mr. President. We'll get in with him soon. I'm working on it at Breitbart. We got some big stuff cooking. We're going to be really at the cutting edge here. I'm hoping I'm going to get over to the White House to see the president in the next couple of weeks. So fingers crossed. It's in the works. I will do my best to get some exclusive show content. I don't know. Beggars can't be choosers sometimes. So you got to get in there. We were getting there fast. We're getting the first interview with John Ratcliffe, who I believe will become officially the CIA director post haste. So that is in the bank. We've got that in the can. We're going to wait for the confirmation before we release any of that. So Breitbart will be the place to go. So he's going to be confirmed. I think today. It might even be before the show comes out. Pete Hegseth likely tomorrow night. Kristi Noem possibly over the weekend. Democrats are making it deliberately difficult to get the confirmations done. I've been complaining about this on the show the last couple of days. And they're just being difficult for the sake of being difficult. There's no point to it. They're not asking for anything. I called up Matt Boyle, our Washington bureau chief. And I said, Matt, what are they even asking for? We're not asking for anything. They're just being jerks because they don't know what to do. And they know that they're not going to be able to fundraise. They're not going to be able to get momentum if they don't push back to some degree. So they're just gumming up the works for the sake of it. But I would submit that this is not the type of politics that works anymore. We're sick of this stuff. It's time to get stuff done. It's time to not be sore losers every second. Elections have consequences. We did our peaceful transition of power, right? Is this a peaceful transition of power? I would argue it's not a peaceful transition of power. I would argue this is anti-democratic. I would argue this is a threat to our democracy. The fact that you are not allowing for people who are going to get confirmed just to have their votes so that we could staff our government. The Democrats created this environment where we have these huge bureaucratic agencies controlled by the executive branch. They have all this sort of power, not power necessarily conferred by Congress, only to a minor degree. And then now it's our turn. We won. We get our turn, and they're not letting us have it. All right, so I got a really interesting email from listener Sky King, who says he was super interested in priority gold, and he should be, because now is perfect time to buy gold. There's a lot of volatility going on. It's going to take a while for Trump to implement all of his policies, and one of the best ways to protect your wealth is with gold, specifically with priority gold. And I told you guys that I'm not going to bring advertisers to the show that I don't fully back and think are doing terrific work. Priority Gold is one of those groups. We worked with them for years at Breitbart before they joined this show. And he asked me, when you give out a number, what does that mean? Freedom at 24999. It's this simple. You take out your phone, you send the text message, type in the word freedom, and the number is 24999. You don't need 7 numbers. You don't need 10 numbers. You don't need a country code. All you need to do is text freedom to 24999, and Priority Gold is going to send you a free wealth preservation guide. It's going to help you shield your savings. And even though Trump is going to be able to reverse a lot of the bad stuff Joe Biden's done, it won't be all of it, and it will not happen overnight. So now is the time to lock in. Let's diversify your wealth. You've got options to do things like gold IRAs, which are really smart to do in terms of tax purposes. And they've got all sorts of information once you go over there. You go to prioritygold.com and you'll learn so much about why gold is a great place to invest. These guys are good. They help me out a lot. Incredibly communicative people. They want to help you do the smartest things with your money. I genuinely believe that. So you text freedom to 24999. If you can't handle that, go to prioritygold.com. And then you'll be supporting a couple of good causes. You'll be supporting yourself and you'll be supporting the show. Can't thank you enough. Check them out. Noteworthy. Got to mark it down. Do not forget. Do not forget. So it feels like, from what Senator Thune and others in leadership of the Republican Senate, they're hearing the message loud and clear. I've been trying to be pretty vocal that I know they're trying, but they need to do better. And it does feel like they're getting the picture. So we got word from Senator Thune that he's willing to do votes around the clock. Senate is open 24/7 until people get confirmed. We're talking nights. We're talking weekends. No breaks until people get through. So that's good. It's a minimum, but I like it. So keeping a close eye on that. Good stuff. What's going on? Producer Misty's giving me breaking news in my ear. What's going on, Misty? Murkowski's a no for exercise. Yeah. So, but I think he still got 50 though, because Curtis is a yes and Ernst is a yes. So I think he's going to lose Murkowski, McConnell, and Collins. So I think Vance is going to have to seal it for Hegseth, but it's still I still think he's got it. It's just going to be Vance is going to have to break the tie. So it's good. It's all, look, it's fun. It's like a sporting event, but we got to win in the end. We've got to be Harlem Globetrotters here. So we're still going to win. It's only fun if we win. But I think we're going to win. All right. One thing I was going to point out, because he was talking about these losers at CNN, huge shakeups at CNN. And we're having an absolute blast at Breitbart with this. Hundreds of layoffs. One of the CNN, a CNN boss apparently has said that the network could no longer exist. Jim Acosta is threatening to quit. But check this out. Jim Acosta is threatening to quit because he was moved to midnight. Okay. Jim, buddy, they're asking you to quit. They moved you to midnight. The request is for you to leave. They're trying not to fire you. They would like for you to quit. That's why they moved you to midnight, Jim. That's the deal. They don't want you anymore. So that is a delight. I just like that he's outraged over it. That's pushing him out. I have a certain stature in my life where I have the misfortune of having to deliver news of firings. It is not enjoy. It's the worst part of any job if you have any empathy in your body. But you do have to learn some strategies, and you don't always just come in and say, "Hey, buddy, we're blowing you out." Sometimes you say, "We're moving you to midnight." Get it? And then it's up to you how you want to go about your business. So that's fun. Yeah, CNN, a lot of turmoil over there. They've done a really bad job in a lot of ways, but hundreds of layoffs. If you would like to read John Nolte dunk on them, and you absolutely do, I would go over to Breitbart.com and read that, because it is always it's pornographic how fun it is. It really is. Well, Nolte dunking on CNN. So you should all do that. All right. What else we got going? So Trump is in Davos. And did he go all the way there? Or no, this has got to be virtual. Yeah, he had to be a virtual speech, because he can fly all the way to Davos. Doesn't make any sense. So yeah, virtually. There you go. Come on, Alex. Use your brain. Does that make the show better when I have to use my brain on the air and I catch myself making a mistake, or does it make it worse because it shows that even though I run a very important and powerful newsroom, I don't know everything that's going on? So I'm going to go with it makes it better. Anyway, he was speaking virtually at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, which has been a riot to watch because they're completely confused. It's all a globalist thing, and they can't decide whether or not we're going to resist Trump like we did last time or whether or not we're going to embrace Trump because his movement looks ascendant. You have Javier Milei now, you've got Nayib Bukele now, you've got Giorgia Meloni in Italy. You've got a lot of these prominent world leaders are actually with Trump. It's not all a black and white thing where it's Trump versus the world now. A lot of the world's coming around. They share his politics. We are on the precipice of having Pierre Poilievre in Canada, who I don't think is necessarily a pro-Trump guy, but certainly better than Justin Trudeau by a mile. I had a Poilievre clip set aside. This is about DEI and gender stuff. I know this is a little out of context, but I need an excuse to play this. I've been meaning to play this. So let me pull this one out. Where did I put it? Here it is. Check this out.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral. Well. You're a man. Yes. There are people out there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah. They say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here? Whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two.
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two. And as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone.
I'm going to cry. It's so beautiful. It's so perfect. Everything is perfect about that. How could we be so lucky? We have Trump, and then we're going to get this guy in Canada. This is just so, everything is perfect. I'm going to break it down and play it again. I just wanted you to hear that and see it uninterrupted, but I got to do it again because this is a masterclass in how you communicate. And this is exactly the reason why I got this clip is because this is how you talk to your friends and family. This is how you do it. The people who we spent a lot of time on yesterday's show at the end of the show talking about how to talk to pro-choice friends and family members and what I think are the strongest arguments and the way to articulate yourself and convince people, actually try to persuade people. This is how you do it. This is exactly how you do it. I'm going to play this from the top. First of all, his appearance. He was a very nerdy guy. He got the glow up. So we're a very visual age right now. Everyone's looking at everything. It's a voyeuristic time. I don't like that it's like that. I like to operate in the realm of ideas more than the realm of physical perception. But he looks cool. He got in shape. He started lifting weights, and he got a better style. And that counts. It makes you more compelled. So it starts with that. But let's go through this.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
This is my number one tactic when we're talking about rhetoric. The one thing that you take with you, and I don't like to be too pedantic on the show, but I want you guys all to see that this move is the move. This is the trump card, the ace up your sleeve. Make them defend their insane ideas. Ask them. Do you believe there is another gender other than male and female? And if so, what is it? You don't even have to give your opinion. You make them articulate how they came to such an anti-science absurd conclusion. And you will find them talking themselves out of their crappy ideas as they go along. Watch this play out.
To name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something
he won't answer? He won't answer because he knows the truth. The truth is there's male and female. It's only two. But he knows that he's a left-wing journalist and he represents a bunch of left-wing audience members for sure. And he doesn't want to alienate them by telling them the truth. So now all of a sudden, instead of it being a tough question for Pierre Poilievre, it is now on this journalist who's being exposed as a weenie, who is not bold enough to just say, yeah, of course, there's only two. Easy answer. Can't do it. He's overthinking it because he's got the whole woke mob in his head that I'm going to get canceled if I say the truth now.
Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's...
See that? So what he's doing, he's not dwelling on it. He said, this is what I know to be true. And then he poses the question right back to the journalist.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am a...
Okay.
Non sequitur. No one asked, what are you?
Okay.
We'll say cis man.
There
are
cis
people...
man. That means I'm a man who is biologically a male and identify as a male. Once you start using that sort of language, non-ironically, you reveal yourself to be a woke freak.
People there who, they say they're
Me too.
gender
I'm a man.
neutral.
Well,
you're a man. Yes. There are people
now
there
he's having fun. He knows he's got him. There
are people out there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person.
They say they're gender neutral. He won't say what it is. He says that's what they say.
Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just might.
Unbelievable, and he doesn't back off. That's the other point I wanted to make in terms of his rhetoric. He did not let him squirm out of it. He did not let up. He was very polite. He didn't yell. He just, I'm aware of two. What do you think? He asked him 3 times. Gave him 3 chances. Tell the truth. Wouldn't tell the truth. There's nothing adversarial about that. There's nothing mean about it. And it was a perfect debate performance. So good. So good. I want the show to be primarily the show and what we do at Breitbart. I wanted to primarily be to inform you about the news. But it's also very important to be persuasive. We need to persuade people. This is our chance. And I will continue to share as someone who's been a professional trying to persuade people guy for my whole life. I do want to share when I feel like some people have really got it. I'm looking at World Economic Forum where Trump's speaking, Prime Minister of Spain saying he wants to force all social media platforms to link every user account to a European digital identity. He argues this is necessary in order to combat hate speech and misinformation. So this is where the left is at right now. They want to expand their powers. They want to expand the surveillance state. They want a Chinese social credit score. So we need to reject these things now. So we need to run up the score right now. We do whatever we can to make sure that we're making progress in the cause of freedom. And we're not doing this digital surveillance stuff. We're not doing social credit scores. All right. So I got some footage of Trump. Let's see what Trump has got to say. Let's see. Is this one of them?
Foreign aid freeze, and I created the new Department of Government Efficiency. I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord and ended the insane and costly electric vehicle mandate. We're going to let people buy the car they want to buy.
So this is another one thing that Trump is doing, which is his alpha energy is just really coming out here, is that he's going to Davos, the biggest globalist confab in the world, to their face. I'm cutting all the stuff you guys love. All the EV stuff, all the green stuff. It's all gone. We're not having a debate about it. We're not going to watch some legislation float through Congress and maybe get cut up and watered down, et cetera. We're just blowing it out. It's over. It's over. Sorry, guys.
I declared a national energy emergency, and that's so important. National energy emergency to unlock the liquid gold under our feet and pave the way for rapid approvals of new energy infrastructure.
This is like a dream. He's going to Davos and he's saying we are drilling. We are not putting in wind farms. We're not doing solar panels. We are not trying to figure out how to harness the power of corn to run our cars. Do they have that? I think they've turned corn into fuel, haven't they? They've tried to do that. The ethanol, and they got a lot of corn in there. So he's saying, no, we're getting the oil out of the ground, and we're treating it like an emergency. That's how fast we're going to get it.
The United States has the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we're going to use it. Not only will this reduce the cost of virtually all goods and services, it'll make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto.
Yeah, so the artificial intelligence and crypto, I think that makes sense. And he's going to win a lot of converts because a lot of people are very, very into this stuff. Is Sam Altman, who is the ChatGPT guy, who is really rubs me the wrong way, but he seems like he's supportive of Trump all of a sudden. OpenAI is his thing. Is that the same as ChatGPT or is that different? Anyway, OpenAI is his AI company. He's the most famous AI CEO and has a lot of power. And he said that, I love this quote. He says he regrets being a NPC during the last administration. NPC means non-player character, sort of a video game expression. And Altman says that he regrets that he was not involved. He wished he was involved. He's going to be involved now. And he's on Trump's side. Look, I don't like the corporations, and Altman scares me and his stuff scares me, but we'd rather have them trying to kiss Trump's butt rather than them trying to oppose Trump. Them opposing Trump did not go well. That's what Google was doing. That's what Facebook was doing last time around. And it didn't work out for us. It worked out very poorly. So I'm happy to see it. Let's see. I got more Trump here. Let's play some more.
What we're going to be demanding is we're going to be demanding respect from other nations. Canada, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We're not going to have that anymore. We can't do it. I don't know if it's good for them. As you probably know, I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit. We won't have to tariff you, et cetera, et cetera. But Canada has been very tough to deal with over the years. And it's not fair that we should have a $200 billion or $250 billion deficit. We don't need them to make our cars, and they make a lot of them. We don't need their lumber because we have our own forests, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need their oil and gas. We have more than anybody. So, just as an example.
Good. We're making Canada a state, baby. A little passive aggression that, hey, we can make you a state, guys. It's fun. Extreme alpha energy from Trump, and why not?
Mr. President, when you're back here in Davos next year, will there be then a peace agreement with Ukraine and Russia by then?
Well, you're going to have to ask Russia. Ukraine is ready to make a deal. Just so you understand, this is a war that should have never started. If I were president, it would never have started. This is a war that should have never, ever been started. And it wasn't started during there was never even talk about it. I knew that it was the apple of President Putin's eye, but I also knew that there was no way he was going in, and he wasn't going to go in. And then when I was out, bad things happened, bad things were said, a lot of stupidity all around, and you end up with what you have. Now you have all these bombed out cities. They look like demolition sites with many people killed. I think
He's right about all this. Again, I take personal pride in this one. This was a talking point that was one of the most important things I wrote about in Breaking Biden, was about, I think, the definitive case that Putin would not have invaded Ukraine if not for if not for Biden winning and Biden's weakness in the region. If Trump had remained president and Biden hadn't come in with his team of the Tony Blinkens of the world, going around acting like Ukraine's going to join NATO or entertaining the idea Ukraine was going to join NATO, I don't think Putin would have invaded. And it's probably the most important chapter. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I like the Hollywood chapter, how Biden ruined Hollywood. But I would say it's maybe my most important chapter in Breaking Biden. I'll tell you, it was so outlandish at the time when I advanced this the first time that my trusty researcher, Jacob, who's helped me in all my books and does a measurable amount of good, and he worked on a lot of Peter Schweizer's books. He's sort of one of these unsung heroes of the movement. And he was like, I don't know. You're kind of pushing on this one. And I said, no, we got this. We're going to prove this point. And lo and behold, talking point got mainstreamed. Trump's been talking about it. Trump has been entirely right about this. And Biden, I think, wanted to run in 2024 on that he was better for Ukraine and Russia, that he was going to stand up to Putin. Trump wouldn't stand up to Putin. And we completely took that talking point from them. Big deal. Big deal. Good stuff. Great in your face speech from Trump is just beautiful to see. All right. Immigration. We're seeing ICE arrests happening. So we're seeing violent criminals locked up. We're seeing some nonviolent locked up. You got to do some of the nonviolent as a signal that don't get too comfortable. Don't try to come here. Look, there's going to be some people who are not going to be evil, bad people who are going to get rounded up in the deportations. It's inevitable that this is going to happen. It's not the best part of this, but we want the self-deportations. We want people to say, well, this is not a good place to be an illegal alien anymore, so we're going to leave. So we want that to happen, and that means some people are going to get caught up in the dragnet. So we want to make it humane as possible, but we need to send a signal that America is not a comfortable environment if you're not allowed to be here. You have to be allowed to be here. The same way that you can't trespass on people's property, you can't go to school after dark. Why do we allow people to just come in the country and just set up shop here? It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're mowing lawns or being nannies, or if you're running a criminal gang. Obviously, if you're running a criminal gang, it's worse. But we need to send a signal that some people, you cannot be here illegally, and all your buddies should pack their bags and leave. And you can go and apply to come in the front door. So illegal aliens are worried as Trump-era ICE raids loom. It's fine. It's part of it. We're reestablishing our border. It's going to be a process. I want to spend some time on the show going through Trump's efforts to undo birthright citizenship. This is a no-brainer. Birthright citizenship makes no sense. There's many exceptions to the notion that if you are born here, just because the nature that your mother was physically here when you were born, that you are entitled to being a citizen forever. We have many exceptions to that rule. If you're a foreign invader, if you are someone who is, let's say you're on vacation and you get hurt and then you can't fly back. There are many exceptions to the rule. So it's not automatic that just because the physical location of the female body at the time that the baby comes out, that does not confer citizenship. It doesn't. But we've accepted that as the truth. And we do this as a society. We accept dumb ideas. This is a dumb one that we've accepted. It's time to undo it. But the mechanics of how to do it legally, that's where it gets a little more complicated. We'll do more content on that. But I did want to bring that up because that is part of the debate right now, part of the discussion when we're talking immigration. Let's see. What else do I want to bring to your attention right now? I had one or two other things. Oh, yeah. J6. House is going to have a J6 panel where they're going to be investigating the J6 panel, as they should. So much illegal stuff went on January the 6th. So much of witness tampering, destroying of evidence, coordination with all of those Trump prosecutions. We're going to learn all that stuff. So we got to go try to dig it up as best we can. Democrats will not make that easy for us, but we got to do it. All right, Oscar nominations came out, and the intersex Pope thriller Conclave, which I was told is one of the most anti-Catholic movies of all time, got a ton of nominations. The Netflix trans cartel musical Emilia Perez dominated 13 Oscar nominations, and a man who impersonates a woman up for Best Actress. So some corners of the world are not getting it. The woke stuff is over. So good, fine. Let the Oscars disgrace themselves some more. No one's seen any of these movies also. All right, Nancy Pelosi's husband traded $38 million in stock just before Trump's inauguration. I've got to tell you that Nancy Pelosi and her husband are the greatest stock traders of all time. So either they're cheating or they need to start doing one of those master classes that are always advertised on my Instagram, where they teach you how to make the perfect brisket, or they teach you how to make the perfect sourdough bread, or they teach you whatever it is. What do they do the master classes on? Something about world history. I don't know, astrophysics. They got to have a Pelosi stock trading series where Nancy and her husband, the guy who got beat up by DePepe, remember that? So glad to see he's recovered, Paul Pelosi. Glad to see he's recovered. Needs to do a masterclass in stock trading. These guys are good. Made hundreds of millions of dollars trading stocks, and they're just good at. Not only was Nancy Pelosi one of the most gifted politicians of her era, she was also the single most gifted stock trader. It's really cool. All right. FTC Chair, Federal Trade Commission, Andrew Ferguson, slashing pernicious offices of DEI, fulfilling Trump's promises. It is so, so beautiful. I want to call these people out by name. Good stuff. Not all good, though. Ukraine, Zelensky wants American troops deployed to Ukraine. And that's just important. So it's important that we're not doing that. That era's over. I'm glad he says that stuff, though, because it keeps us on our toes, keeps us guarded, all that. I got a lot of nice email. No one emailed me to say they disagree with my Ross Ulbricht take. I was trying to get some of you to come out and tell me why I'm wrong that the guy who hired a hitman while he was running a dark web drug trading operation or drug trading, I guess, marketplace, why Trump needed to pardon him. I was trying to get one of you to explain to me why that was a good pardon. No one did. So if you disagree with me on that, please explain it to me. I'm open-minded. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And I would like to hear why I'm wrong. But a lot of good emails, but I don't want to go any longer. We got a really exciting show tomorrow because it's my birthday. So we're going to do something cool, right? What should we do, Misty? Hawaiian shirt birthday party? What should we do? I don't know. We got to think about this. We got to do something special. I got a feeling to celebrate my birthday, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the news, and then that'll be that. So it's probably it for the show, but I feel like it'll be a good show. I'll have some energy coming in. Friday birthday. You only get those once every 7 years. They don't come up very often. Do you know how I'm going to celebrate? I'm going to disappoint myself and probably do exactly what I would always do, which is really kind of rude to yourself. It's rude to your loved ones. I'm sure everyone in my life would like for me to see some sort of extra celebration take place because it's a Friday birthday. I got a busy work weekend. I got a lot to do. Probably not going to do much. All right. I'm meandering now, which is not a good sign. It's time to wrap it up. Thank you to producer Misty. Thank you to all the wonderful sponsors. Please, if you're thinking about checking them out, Priority Gold, etc., the Juven platform. We'll talk about them a little bit tomorrow. Check all that out. Helps the show grow. I promise you it will be worth it. I'm not bringing you any frauds on the show. Only the realest of the real. All of you go in the Breitbart Fight Club. I have not done my Fight Club interview today. It will be with John Carney on all things economic. He's always good. A true savant on all things economic finance. Thanks to producer Misty. Thanks to you 10,000 friends and family members. We'll talk to you tomorrow.